Hey everybody, it is Gordon Majak here, back with another episode of Timeless Pop, Rock, and Soul. And today, on a Sunday afternoon, I was thinking, Sunday's that day of the week when I always like to find some nice, positive, uplifting, philosophical, sort of spiritual vibe in my music. And today we are going to do that in a big, big way. This song, this first one, actually, I'm going to play two for you today, but this first one here, one of my all-time, I'm thinking maybe all-time top 20 songs and maybe even higher than that. What can you say about this guy? What an absolute giant. What a legend. The great Donny Hathaway. And this is his album Extension of a Man from the spring of 1973. And there was a song on this album called Someday We'll All Be Free. Now, Someday We'll All Be Free, one of my all-timers, like I said, one of my top 20 easy, maybe even higher than that. Someday We'll All Be Free was never a single in its own right, and it was actually originally the B-side of one of the singles from this album. That was a song called Love, 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 which was a top 20 R&B hit for Donny Hathaway there in 1973. And I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't know that other song if I heard it right now, but I sure know this one. And I think the point is that this song, Someday We'll All Be Free, was much more well-known as a great album cut than as an individual single itself. But Someday We'll All Be Free from Donny Hathaway, as I said, in 1973. It started out as a B-side. This is a song that the music was written by Donny Hathaway, and the lyrics were written by a friend and associate of Donny Hathaway's, and that was a gentleman by the name of Edward Howard. And what I did not know until just today, and I have loved this song for so many years, and just today I find out that the lyrics to this song, written by Edward Howard, were actually written for Donny Hathaway. And I don't mean written for him as a convenience. I mean written for him with Donny Hathaway in mind. Edward Howard, apparently a very close friend and someone who cared deeply for Donny Hathaway and sort of could see the troubled track that Donny Hathaway was on. And Edward Howard composed these lyrics to an instrumental track that Donny Hathaway had. Edward Howard composed these lyrics for Donny Hathaway, hoping that this song and these lyrics might uplift and support Donny Hathaway. And as we know, despite that wonderful gesture, that very kind and loving and compassionate gesture by Edward Howard, as we all know, the great Donny Hathaway passed so many decades before his time should have been up. Just at the age of 33, Donny Hathaway left us, and what an absolute giant of the R&B and soul jazz, if you want to even add that part of it into the equation. Just one of the giants, the great Donny Hathaway. Now, the interesting thing about this is, as I said, this record came out in 1973, but just thinking back and trying to remember my initial exposure to this, I think it was probably a good 10 years into the early 80s there. Before I heard, I'm trying to think of which album it was, and I think it was this record right here. I think when this record came out, either the late 70s or the early 80s, and Someday We'll All Be Free was one of the tracks on this Donny Hathaway kind of a greatest hits collection there. And I think that's where I heard it for the first time. And boy, it just made such an incredible impression on me right from the very first time. And I could never get this song out of my mind. And if there is such a thing as one great, beautiful, profound, spiritual or philosophical lyric that I just love, boy, this might be the one. It might be the top of the list. It is the great Donny Hathaway from 1973 from his Extension of a Man album, and Someday We'll All Be Free.
things are moving fast. Hold on tight and you will last. Keep your self-respect, your man equal right. Get yourself in gear, keep your stride. Never mind your fears. Brighter days will soon be here. Take it from me, someday we'll all be free. Yeah. Keep on walking tall. Hold your head up high. Lay your dreams right up to the sky. Sing your great song. And you'll keep growing, growing on. Take it from me, someday we'll all be free. Hey, just wait and see, someday we'll all be free. Yeah. Take it from me, someday we'll all be free. It won't be long. Take it from me, someday we'll all be free. Take it from me, take it from me, take it from me.
Can we just agree that Donny Hathaway, one of the all-time soul jazz giants, right? No disputing that. The great Donny Hathaway. And as the story goes, apparently, when Donny Hathaway heard the first playback of the finished product of this song and of those incredible lyrics that his friend Edward Howard wrote for him, Donny went in there and laid down that beautiful, charismatic vocal track. And apparently, when he heard that playback for the first time, he sort of lost it, reduced him to tears. Understandable, right? What a beautiful message and what a beautiful song. Donny Hathaway, Someday We'll All Be Free. That is the hope and the prayer, right? And I have to confess, boy, my faith, what do they call it? My faith, what's the word? My faith wavers a bit from time to time. Yeah, maybe waver is the word. Yeah. I'm not always as faithful as I am at some other times, but generally speaking, I think this song is on the right track. At least that's the hope and the prayer, right? Someday we'll all be free. Coming back in a little while with part 2 of this Sunday afternoon spiritual philosophical vibe. We'll go back to the 60s for that one. And another one of the all-time giants of the music world. see you in a little while. Hope you love some Donny Hathaway like I do. And I can promise you, we will be coming back to Donny Hathaway on this channel. That is for sure. That brother has got so much great music, despite the fact that his life was so tragically cut short as it was. Only 33. Why do the best and the brightest always go so young? Breaks my heart. See you in the next one, folks.